And a good afternoon to you, Ted Langdell, host for Lunch with Langdell, right here on Yuba-Sutter.live. And our guests today are two people who have been involved in local real estate for quite a while. Some of them with slightly changing perspectives over the years. We have Greg Quilty here on our left. Greg has been involved in real estate for quite a while.
I was licensed in 2005.
Yeah, well, that's getting on there.
Yes.
That is.
And Dan Flores has been involved in a variety of things, beginning, I think, in this area with real estate. Your mom, I think, got you into that?
She was, yeah. She's been a real estate area in this area about 30 years.
Okay, and she's still doing it.
She is, yep.
All right.
Very active.
Anyway, so
Hi,
we're
Ted, by
going
the
to
way.
change the camera shots here a little bit just to make you look a little better. But like back this up, and then we don't see. You're up against the ceiling.
Oh, I am?
Yeah. So the title of the show today for Lunch with Langdell is Marysville's Renaissance. Let's try that all at the same time. Marysville's Renaissance.
Say it 3 times.
Indeed.
That'll be tough.
And so we probably have a few guests jumping in here. I don't know, people that are watching. I'm trying to get us up there. But anyway, if you happen to be watching today, please do share. There's a whole bunch of different places, groups. Share it on your own page, that sort of thing. We love to see that kind of thing. Anyway, Lunch with Langdell, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about where we are here. We are at the Oya restaurant along Ellis Lake, corner of 9th and B Streets in Marysville. We'll be mentioning B Street a little bit later here in the show, because B Street figures prominently into why we are here and what Dan's going to be telling us about. And so, but we're also going to be talking about theaters. We're going to be talking about a variety of other things live here from Oya Mediterranean Restaurant. But Dan Flores has been the Marysville Community Development Director for about what, nine months?
About 7
now?
months now, Ted. Yeah.
7.
Yeah.
7. And yesterday you got a chance to make, I guess, what is your first big announcement and first big deal for the city of Marysville?
Yeah, yesterday was a very exciting day for the city of Marysville. It was just, it was regarding the B Street properties. If you're not too familiar, actually, I know that you are, because last time we had a discussion, you actually gave a little history to your viewers about the B Street properties. Right. Do you want to give that synopsis real quick, and then I'll tell you what happened?
You talk about the B Street property, and I'm going to pull up a little video here of the B Street property.
Okay, great. So, as you had described to the viewers, the B Street property is made up of multiple properties over here on B, around 12th and 13th Street, across from Ellis Lake. You'll know the Quick Stop is nearby there. So the adjacent lot, it's 5.1 acres, made up of multiple lots. Back about 20 years ago, the city of Marysville decided to buy that lot in hopes that they would actually develop it.
They actually had to do that piece at a time.
They did, yeah.
There was a used car dealership. There was we're panning now, looking south past where the Dairy Queen was located on the corner.
Yes.
And there was also at one time the Lakeside, I think it was Lakeside Motel.
Okay, right. I heard about this. So this is before my time. And you're a Marysville native, and you know a lot of the history.
Well, not quite. I came from the Bay Area.
Okay,
that's all right.
But you've been there a long time, right? So
yeah.
So yeah, all of those businesses and different things were on the site, but it was basically a site that needed to be rehabbed. So the city decided to buy it. It was right before the recession hit, unfortunately. So the idea was to try to sell it off to a developer to develop out about 440,000 square feet of space on the site. The years passed by, and then we fast forward here now to a new city council, that I've seen so far in the last 7 months, who are very business oriented, very pro-growth for Marysville, and very supportive about different ideas going forward. And what the city council decided to do was to contract with a private real estate firm, and the real estate firm is Marcus and Millichap. market.
Now, that's different than what's happened with other properties in the past, as I understand it.
It is, yeah. So traditionally, governments will just sell the properties on their own, but in their wisdom, which I think it was a brilliant idea actually, to subcontract with a private firm, and the private firm comes in and they'll be able to market more effectively than a government would. So Marcus and Millichap went out and we set up what's called an RFQ process, and that's requests for qualifications to try to find developers who would be qualified to develop on that site. And I should add, the objective was to try to find a developer who would build something with the idea of bringing more tax dollars into the city of Marysville. So, in other words, we weren't looking for non-tax generating type businesses that would be situated on that 5.1 acre lot. So we went through an RFQ process where multiple developers submitted their proposals, and in those proposals, after the city council reviewed the proposals, they narrowed it down to 3 really strong developers. It was actually turned into quite a competition, and those developers submitted the RFP, which is a request for proposal for the development of, putting a development on there. So after a period of time and going through the process, the city council determined that there was one developer that they wanted to choose to enter into negotiations, and so they call it an exclusive right to negotiate. That exclusive right lasts 60 days, and during that time period, the developer has to present their proposal, their financing options, their what they call it, what they call financing options altogether, all the entitlement issues, all the things related to the property. So all of those things have to be done within that 60-day period. And so that developer ended up being Engstrom Properties, who are also with Presidio. They are the developers of a hotel, and their plan is to do a hotel there, a grocery store, a restaurant on the site. That's their proposal at this point.
So would these be all contained in one building, or would they be separate buildings on different pieces? I know that the event center seems like it would be part of the hotel. That would be, I don't know whether you know more about what they're proposing, but...
Sure, yeah. So the proposal at this point is for a 100-room hotel, a brand name, so potentially a Hyatt or Marriott. It's not specified exactly which brand would actually go on the site. A restaurant that would include probably a drive-through, but also a sit-down portion. Right now they've been speaking directly with a Chipotle restaurant that would go there. And then a grocery store, and at this point they've been working with Grocery Outlet to set up a grocery store on the site. The event center, like you were talking about, so the idea that they presented was putting an event center on the site, but not adjacent to the hotel, so just off from the hotel to the north of the lot itself. So that's their proposal at this point. Where that pans out, there's so many variations that could occur from here to there. There's so many issues they have to deal with, it's utilities, entitlements, rezoning, all sorts of things that has to be done in order for us to get to the point where we set up a development agreement and a purchase and sale agreement for the property itself. But it's a very exciting moment because after 20 years of sitting on a lot, there's actually somebody who wants to develop it. So it's just great to be able to be a part of that and see that happen. I do want to add, too, that the other developers who submitted their proposals, they were excellent proposals. And it's one of the reasons it took the city council so long to make a final decision. And there was a lot of factors involved that, I don't need to specify all those factors involved in the decision process. But we're hopeful that the other developers who are involved in the bidding process will at some time want to develop some future projects within the city of Marysville, and we would welcome that going forward. And I also want to add that if something does not work out for some reason with Engstrom Properties through the negotiations process, that one of the other developers would also be invited back to the table.
Well, one of the things that I did when this first started to come around was to start becoming familiar with who these different players were and the different partnerships, Engstrom being out of Yolo County.
Yeah.
They're in West Sacramento, and Presidio Company is in Davis.
Yes.
And they all have on their portfolios, as we showed yesterday during the meeting, as you were talking about them, we were showing pictures from their websites. And they've got quite a portfolio, at least in terms of the Presidio Company, quite a portfolio of in this region hotels, as well as some that are outside of the region and are in some fairly desirable territory. The thing that they put together just, I guess, opened last fall was the Marshall Hotel. And this is interesting because what they did is they took an old hotel about the same age as the Marysville Hotel, took out the middle, preserved the facade, and then built something like an 11-story new hotel inside of that area. So that was a kind of an interesting way to do that. I don't know whether that's something practical to do with the Marysville Hotel, or if there are other pieces of property in Marysville, you could create a shell that looks like it's an older, fits into the downtown hotel, and could become something that is like that, as old and new.
You know, one of the main reasons Engstrom was selected was because of what you just mentioned. You know, they have quite a bit of experience, specifically through Presidio in the development of those hotels and different types. So the one you mentioned, of course, is, you know, that's a tougher development compared to just doing a ground up, say, hotel, because there's a lot more complexities to the development of that. But that was definitely one of the deciding factors, that they're innovative in their development process. That's good. And then the other big part of the decision-making process for them is that they run their hotels. So it was nice. Presidio does. So they come in and they actually will build it and operate it going forward. And that was a big deal for the city council right now, because they wanted somebody who was really involved with the project, not just to the construction stage, but beyond the construction stage for the life of the hotel project. Because that would be the main part. Because the idea there is, from the city standpoint, if you think about revenue, you know, cities can only get revenue from taxes, right? So taxes come from sales tax mostly, and then potentially a TOT tax. And a TOT is a transient occupancy tax that you pay when you go stay at hotels. You know, I think when I went to San Francisco, the transient occupancy tax was like 15 or 20%. It's not going to be like that here in Marysville, but you know, this is how cities make additional revenues from people who are visiting from outside the area. We think this hotel will attract quite a few people. We've had conversations with the Hard Rock Hotel, which is, as you know, located down Wheatland.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We are eating
Yes, here we
today,
go.
folks.
So we got our eating utensils ready to go. But we've had conversations, Ted, with the Hard Rock Hotel, and they're actually very excited that we're setting up another hotel, because their rooms sell out pretty quickly. And, you know, they're just down the road here a few minutes, and they even talked about the possibility of setting up a shuttle that would go between this hotel and the Hard Rock Hotel. Their rooms get quite expensive during the times when they have events. And they have a beautiful hotel, but it would be great even if we could fill up the rooms here in Marysville with overflow hotels.
So food is arriving here, and
great.
we're going to talk a little bit about the food here. We are at the Oya restaurant in Marysville, and we are doing lunch with Langdell. That is our usually a weekly show, at least that's what we've been trying to do. And I'm having some tabbouleh salad here because I need to be relatively simple in what I'm kind of trying to pull off here. You get 3 plates in front of all this technology, and it's not a good idea. But we are eating lunch, and in fact, Dan was the first guest on our show, and we had lunch, and it was an interesting experience trying to do that.
It was. Trying to coordinate everything over at the Thai restaurant. I remember that, yeah.
And this was just about a week or 2 after you had been
so it was about 7 months. About 7 months today, actually, right in there.
Okay.
Time flies, Ted.
Well, dig in.
Yeah.
And Greg, you go ahead and dig in there, because we'll get back to you, but we won't want you to be hungry while we're talking with Dan. Okay? So, anyway, what are you having, by the way, Greg?
I ended up getting the lamb shish kebabs.
You can show them the plate.
And
Yeah, hold it up about there. Oh, that's good. No. There you go.
Lamb
Right up
shish
there.
kebab.
Up. There we are. All
Lamb
right.
shish kebab. They're out of the lamb gyro, so I went with the lamb shish kebab.
Looks
And,
excellent.
I figured when in Rome, might as well have lamb.
There you go. Now you've got something wrapped in silvery packages, Dan.
Yeah, mine
what
is.
do you have? Why don't you
Mine is
unwrap a little bit?
Mine's a falafel. So it's a falafel wrap, basically.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, it looks really delicious.
All right. Well, we'll see you chewing on that here in a minute. But so 7 months ago, you jumped in, and what was the first thing that you started to do as community development director?
First was getting my bearings, right? Figuring out what was what and what was going on, what's happened in the past, figuring out what the goals of the city council were, where they wanted to head, and just kind of getting a feeling of what the residents of Marysville were really feeling. So immediately I discovered, and I'd probably known this just from living here for so long, but the Marysville Hotel was one of those sore spots, let's say. It was something that people considered just an eyesore. It was something that people felt strongly that should be just torn down or gotten rid of or somehow redeveloped, or something had to be done, but nobody really knew what had to be done with that. So first call I made, one of the first calls when I moved here, was to the owner of the Hotel Marysville, and started talking to him about what he wanted to do, what his options were with the hotel. So that was one of the first items. The rest was the next steps were just taking an inventory of sort of the local buildings, finding out what was available, looking for infill opportunities, because the goal that I did hear right away from city council is they're looking to increase the number of residents in the downtown area, and that would be like D Street, C Street, 1st through 6th Streets. And so I should say that the Community Development Department, tackled that right away and tried to attract development and residences to the downtown area. So at this point we have about 100 and...
On our first show, you brought your assistant community development director.
Yes, Christina
And
Heredia.
she's been handling what? Primarily the planning side of it?
She is a planner, yeah. So her goal is to do the planning. So I'll bring the different developments to the table and talk about what they want to build and what they want to do, and then she is the next person they see after they submit plans to go over approval. Parking requirements, the colors that have to be used. We have a historic color palette for the city of Marysville. There's just a lot of different things that have to go into the submittal of projects that have to go in to the city. And Christina goes through all of those details, along with the contracted planning consultant that we have called Four Leaf, and they go into some of the more complicated plans. And then Christina also helps by running the planning commission meetings, which meet once a week. And so that's
once a month, I think.
Or once a month. I'm sorry. Yeah. Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah, if you had to do once a week.
Yeah, once a week would be a little too much.
There would be lots of stuff
we don't want to
going
do
on
that
around
yet,
here.
but once a month we do a planning.
Marysville would definitely be hopping if
Yeah.
you were doing planning commission.
Well, we have a
once
wonderful
month.
planning commission, and they look at lots of a variety of things, whether it's new signs coming into Marysville or buildings. They look at all sorts of things. So they've looked at multiple projects. And then one of the other big things that we tackled right away, Ted, was starting the general plan update. So Marysville hasn't, and we talked about this in our last meeting. Marysville hasn't had a general plan update since 1985. So, traditionally cities and counties or jurisdictions look at doing general plan updates between 10 and 20 years max. And, we're talking 40 years since the general plan. So this has been a golden opportunity for us. We've had multiple meetings with what we call the General Plan Committee, which are representative of citizens of Marysville, and we're coming together really nicely, just looking at the general plan update, and we should have something to present here within the next several weeks. We're looking forward to that, and really a good participation.
So it sounds like having a community development director again and an assistant to handle what is a major chunk of the duties of a planning and developing department has been a really good thing for the area and for Marysville.
Yeah, it really has. And one thing we've noted is momentum. So before when I first took on the job, and I talked to you about this as well, and I remember Christina being there, but we talked about potential,
Right.
And I was really literally getting sick of that word, being in Marysville and hearing, hey, it has so much potential. There's all this potential. Okay, so the objective is like, let's turn this potential energy into momentum. Let's get some momentum. So we started now. One of our sayings is momentum Marysville momentum. So this is So we're creating this forward-thinking process of let's just keep things moving. So whatever it is, let's just move and work at it. When I say whatever it is, I don't mean that flippantly. I mean we have objectives, and our objectives are to bring a number of residents into the downtown area into infill projects. And that's like a priority objective of the city council, to work on buildings that are blighted, that need to be fixed. Let's say we mentioned the Marysville Hotel, the State Theater. There's other buildings within the downtown that need to be fixed. So to work on those, and to attract businesses that will serve the new community members that we attract into the downtown. I mean, if you think about this, right? The whole population of Marysville is just a little bit above 12,000 people. Well, if we were to attract an additional 200 people into the downtown over a short period of time, we've just increased the population a very large percentage for the whole city of Marysville. Marysville too. It's got an interesting dynamic. I mean, from a cultural standpoint, I think the residents that live here have struggled to identify what they are. Right? This isn't really a rural town. It's not even a small city. It's more like an urban village, right? So we truly have a walkable community. We have beautiful parks. If you look at the overlay of the parks we have, including Riverfront Park and Ellis Lake and all sorts of things, there's so many amenities here that we don't take advantage of, and I think people just don't realize it.
Improving dining opportunities here.
We do,
We're in one now.
So that's what we're doing, and so that was the secondary portion of that, is really trying to attract these businesses, including dining establishments and nightclubs, those types of places where people can enjoy evening, but be able to walk to those locations from a good livable environment. And that's what we're after. That's what the city council's objective is. That's what the city manager's objective is. That's what my objective is, because of course they're my boss and they will tell me what to do. But not only that, I have a personal mission, and that's to really improve the lives of the people of Marysville by tackling this job as community development director and really seeing improvement in economic development throughout the area. So it's great. I mean, there's so many things I can talk about. If there's anything in particular you want to go over, I'd be happy to.
In other conversations, you've talked about some of the other things that are happening, or at least are on the horizon. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how much you can say about them, because you don't want to say something that queers the deal.
Sure, yeah.
But by the same token, there are some things that we're aware of that are happening.
Yeah.
There are 2 theaters for sale in Marysville.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We'll get Greg to talk a little bit about that one in just a minute. But the State Theater is available?
So I had a wonderful conversation with the owner of the State Theater, and
that is
his name is Melvin. But so he mentioned that he's interested in having something really nice done with the State Theater, and that's the reason that he had purchased it in the beginning. But he would want somebody to work with him to do it, or take it over themselves to do it. So he is willing to sell the State Theater for a development that would go there. We asked, okay, what would go there, right? And so, I think redeveloping into a theater again, I don't think would be feasible. And the reason I say that is because there wouldn't be a return on investment on development of an entire theater in downtown the way it is right now, and that size of structure. So that would be a real challenge. So we'd have to look at other alternatives. One of those might be a multifamily residential possibility. Now, we have to, before we start saying, hey, this is what we're going to do, I don't want to worry any of your listeners and say, hey, this is going to be torn down and look like an apartment complex or affordable housing or something. That is not the case. But let's just use our vision a little bit and say we kept the structure of the theater looking like it does, in a way, like the facade, and then you make a really nice housing development inside it that would pretty much not change the way the theater itself looks, that would be something that we'd be interested in doing for downtown Marysville, unless somebody comes up with some other project that could potentially go into that.
Well, you could do something like what Presidio and its builders did with the Marshall Hotel. Keep the facade, build up, hollow it out, make something brand new.
Yeah, so there's a lot of opportunity with it. It's a grid structure, very strong structure. From what I understand, I haven't really analyzed that one, but
they really built them well back in 1927.
Oh, they did.
They had to overbuild them because the science of let's push things to the edge wasn't there.
Yeah, well, that's what we found out with the Marysville Hotel. The structure's really solid. It's got strong foundation, strong decking, good bones. Yeah, they call it good bones, and and that's a really good deal for the owner of the building itself, because he wasn't sure at first whether the structure was just brick until they got into the structure itself and found out there's solid concrete frame on that building. So and that's another project, the Hotel Marysville, right? So
yeah, let's talk a little bit about how and what you have to work with and how you can bring more residences and more residential occupants to downtown Marysville, which in turn spurs the ability for new kinds of businesses, more restaurants, grocery store, so on and so forth that would serve those. Laundromat, maybe?
Yeah, that would be great. There's a lot of, this is just what Greg just said right now. So I get, for me, we get to work with a lot of good bones, right? So when somebody comes to visit, I have a good time. I go and I walk around. We say like, oh gosh, there's vagrants around Ellis Lake, or because people are from here, they have this negative sort of feeling about the town that we have here. But if you bring someone from the outside, they walk around and go, that is a beautiful lake. Oh my gosh. Or I can walk downtown and there's beautiful antique stores that I could go shopping at. And there's nowhere else where I could do this. And this is, and then I even hear the comments, wow, you can just park right here and go eat at the Silver Dollar, or you can go to the Brick and you're only parking a block away. People who from here, they say, oh, there's no parking, or there's just a lot of negative things. So I think we need to change that overall feeling about ourselves. It's more of like, let's build our own self-confidence. I believe we're sitting on one of the, I'm going to say country. I've traveled around and I believe we have one of the country's best gems that we are sitting on. I think it's one of the best secrets in the country that we have this small urban village that is walkable, that will soon have high-speed Wi-Fi up to every business, every house that's coming through Sci-Fi, which you saw come last year. We'll have, we're going to have the new restaurants and hotels that'll come to town. And then the city council is working strongly to try to figure out, better pedestrian walkways, bicycling paths that will be completed going around the entire city, that go around the levee system. So connecting those bicycle paths, they're having discussions about pedestrian bridges. This is something I can share with you because it's just discussion, but it's, the dream during this general planning process is if we're not going to end up getting a bypass anytime soon, which hasn't gone off the plate. We haven't taken that off our plate. We want to get a bypass, but then let's build some pedestrian bicycling bridges that we can connect each other with and move around on over the top of the traffic if that's what we have to do. So think about the future for those types of things, and I think we need to be positive as a community, and then we can attract others. And you were asking about the tools we have to do that, and it's really literally working with real estate agents like Greg here or others from the community, and bringing them into this area and showing them what we have, and then it sells itself at that point. It really does. And then it's a matter of like sharing. Okay, well, where would you move? So you go to downtown and you see there's not a lot of residential space currently available, right? So then we have to work with developers who want to do residential infill. So right now the city of Marysville is speaking to developers besides the hotel development, which would be the Marysville Hotel Development, which is going to be lofts, a set of lofts, which that's where we heard the announcement from the owner of that hotel. We have from Lance, but we have another about 70 residential new units committed for or committed to. Not plans, not done, but committed. They want to build within downtown Marysville. So pretty exciting to know that, because we can attract those. I mean, that's a complete change for the city of Marysville.
What kind of a price point per residential unit, and what types of units, and what types of people are you expecting are going to be able to occupy or move into those units?
Sure. I mean, the workforce housing is really the key words that we're talking about here. So these are housing units for people who are currently in the workforce. If you think about the large employers we have in the area, we have Adventist that has their headquarters here in Marysville, or the main hospital, I should say. We have Caltrans here. We have Beale Air Force Base nearby. We have the county of Yuba that's right here. We have the Yuba County Office of Education. So all pretty large employers. If you say 500 plus, with the hospital maybe 2,000 people, and so there's a lot of people. Most of these
Let's not forget Frank M. Booth.
And Frank M. Booth, a great employer, yeah. But all of these employers most of their employees don't live in Marysville proper. So if you take a number, I'm guesstimating, but less than 5% of their employees live in the city of Marysville. So our target market are those people first. And these are people who make very good wages, but they don't live here because they don't feel like the amenities are here. They don't feel like the housing stock is here. So we have to be able to target them. So our target is about $1,500 or so per month for rent, like of a loft in the old Marysville Hotel that will look like an apartment or a modern apartment at that time.
We are enjoying lunch with Langdell, and our guests are Dan Flores and Greg Quilty. They are local, or have been. Greg is still involved in the local real estate business, and
Yes,
Dan
sir.
is a former realtor, former education institution owner with Cambridge Community College, or Cambridge Junior College.
Yep.
And now, in addition to being a Sutter County supervisor, he is a community development director for the city of Marysville.
Yes.
And Greg, you have some properties that are available for sale in Marysville, beginning with something that is what greets people when they show up over the E Street Bridge. What is that?
That is a theater. Currently we have it on the market for $1.8 million. There's about 19,000 square feet there. We have temporarily placed a tenant there that is occupying the office space. They're there for about the next 18 months while they are building and remodeling and updating a new facility for their construction company. So in the interim, they are there as our tenant, and as you walk, that's in the main office, two-story office space. There's also some space that's available. It was once upon a time an auditorium. There was a church that occupied that area. It could be used for various functions. It's just a big, wide open area. It does have pillars in there, so we've been approached by some sports, such as volleyball, to do practice in there. Not really functional for that because of the pillars. But the old movie theater portion of the entrance, I believe, would make a really great entry into a coffee shop, restaurant, maybe attract a brewery. If someone were to come in there and remodel it, it has really cool acoustics. There's definitely some features in this foyer area that they don't do. Going back to the good bones, it's pretty interesting, some of the architectural work in there. It's just stuff that you don't see in modern times. But if someone could have the ideas and the money, wherewithal to develop this, maybe a brewery, a farmer's brewery, there's definitely some in the auditorium area, be plenty of room for large tanks, and it's a very unique property in general.
Cool. So we also know that there's other properties available in Marysville. I was looking around on LoopNet yesterday just to see, and the half block that is between 2nd and 3rd Streets is available for, I think, 2.1, or was it 4 point something million dollars. This is where the PG&E office, I forget what they call it. It's a place with the clock tower on the opposite side of Mervyn's.
Yes. That is up for sale. The little bit I know about that property, the owners own it for quite some time. He's out of Reno, Nevada, and it's is almost fully occupied. And I believe they've actually are at a price point of around close to about $4 million at this point in time. There's been some long-term tenants there, and it is on the market with an agent out of Grass Valley area with a great name by the name of Greg as well.
Oh, okay. So, what is your perception of the state of the real estate market, both demand and supply in Marysville? What opportunities are there for people?
Well, I definitely think there's lots of opportunities. Marysville is a unique, I always refer to it as a unique animal. Historically, since I've been in the real estate business, our price points for downtown Marysville are not super high, but that's just going off of comparable sales. I just recently took to the market, or I'm taking to the market. I just got it listed, 120 C Street. So it's a kind of mixed-use property. So I'm gonna use that one for an example. This is about a 3,400 square foot building on C Street, directly across the way from where Layman is going to be building the new warehouse shop space. I don't know a whole lot about that project in particular, but from what I understand, it's going to be a new shop warehouse. And
Layman or Frank M. Booth?
Layman's building, but Frank
my bad. Frank M. Booth. So flipping to Frank M. Booth.
That's all right. There's a lot of names to remember around here.
Yeah.
So that's a unique building, and what I mean by that is it's really set up as a live-work situation type deal if one desired it to be. It's a two-story building. Like I said, it's about 3,400 square feet, so you're going to have, about 1,700 square feet each floor approximately. Downstairs is right now set up as an office, and it has a separate doorway that goes to the upstairs area. For once upon a time, sounds like it was probably a motel, hotel, a boarding house, something of that nature. But it has a bunch of individual rooms, and it can be used as living quarters. And just put that on the market for just under $300,000, and it's in line with all the comparables that are in Marysville.
Okay, 120 C Street. I'm trying to visualize that. Is that the former Quality Consignments building?
Next door, I think.
Not that I'm aware of.
This is a mortgage. This is a mortgage office.
It was the most recent use was a mortgage real estate office and also a residence.
Okay, I know the one. It's right next to and I don't know, did the city sell the Chinese decor building that was falling down on itself that was next to the community garden on the corner of 2nd and C? Has that all been sold?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is basically in the property that's next to the former city-owned property where that older Marysville brick building is.
Right next door.
Yes. Okay, gotcha. So these are some cool things, and then there's a nice open lot there that I think
that's owned by somebody else.
That is a
Skip
different.
Brust owns that one. Is that or is it for sale? Is it available?
I don't believe he owns that empty lot. I know he owns property adjacent to it. And I was looking at stuff yesterday. I don't recall if that was one of the properties, but he is a property owner in the area and owns several properties. Yes.
Cool. Let me stop for a minute before I forget to ask you this, because one of the things that we like to find out about is, where did people come from? How did they get to Marysville, Yuba City, the Yuba-Sutter area? Some people were born here. Some people came here from somewhere else. Parents brought them, or they saw something that attracted them. What's your story?
So my story, I arrived here in 1993 to start my senior year of high school. The reason why we relocated here was my dad became a branch manager for Coca-Cola, and he moved our family from the Bay Area to Oakdale for a period of time. And he was commuting from Oakdale to the Bay Area and did that for about 3 years. He was tired of the commute, had an opportunity to take over as a branch manager here locally in Marysville, and moved our family to Yuba City. We built our first home here in Yuba City, was once upon a time very rural, and is now grown into city limits. And that's actually how I met Dan, because he was my neighbor across the street.
Yes.
And that was probably about 1996, 1997, somewhere right around there. And once I moved here, I settled here. I graduated from Yuba College in Yuba City High School in '94. Went to Yuba College, graduated from Yuba College in 1997, and went to work and have remained here. And basically, I've stayed here locally. I think we have a beautiful area. I like the rural feel. I think we're very centrally located to basically anything you'd like to do. You want to go to Tahoe, 2 hours. Like to go to the Bay Area, 2 hours. I like water sports. I like being on lakes and rivers. And I love the fact that basically you can pick any direction you want to go, and within 15 minutes to an hour, you can be at a lake, a reservoir, one of our great water facilities that we have in our backyard. And if you're an avid fisherman, you can literally probably hook up your boat and be on the river from most locations in Yuba City within start to A to Z 30 minutes.
Yeah. And hunting too, right?
And hunting, of course, yes.
Hunting, yes. Hunting, fishing,
yes.
Boating, all
Eating.
kinds of stuff.
Yes.
What part of the Bay Area did you come from?
So I was born in Redwood City, spent a good part of my life in Menlo Park and Santa Clara. And from Santa Clara, we relocated to Oakdale, and we did a 3 years there. When I was, so from my freshman year of high school to the end of my junior year.
So what was your first impression when you arrived in the Yuba-Sutter area? And what changes have you seen, and what keeps you here, aside from what you've mentioned?
So,
obviously, there's some business to be done.
I had culture shock on both moves. We went from the Bay Area, where in a sprawling concrete jungle, to where I could hop on a public transit bus and go anywhere I wanted. And we moved to Oakdale, which was a very, very small farming community that didn't really have a whole lot to offer for stores. So moved to Yuba City, and I felt like I was almost back in the Bay Area in some sorts, because it was a much bigger city and town than Oakdale. And I thought to myself, wow, we even have our own mall. And when we came here, that's right when the Bel Air Shopping Center, also known as Feather River Downs, was being built, and that was pretty exciting to see. And I remember thinking to myself, I want to work there as a carry-out. And that dream came true, and I worked there as a carry-out. And I think that's also what helped planted some of my seeds and my roots really in this community, is working at Bel Air as a carry-out. And what I mean by that is I met a lot of people in the community being a carry-out, and I've established some long-term relationships with some of these folks that have lived here for a long time. And I stay here. I'm a homeowner here, and operate my business from Yuba City, and I like the area, I like the people, and I like the fact that if I need something, more than likely I could probably make a phone call and get it done.
Now, you've become active in the community in other ways. It's not just as a business person dealing with real estate and that sort of thing.
Yes, you're very correct. So I was once upon a time employed in Sacramento with a company called WorldCom, and much like Enron, WorldCom exploded, and I was out of a job and I was laid off. I had the opportunity to move to Texas at that point in time with my boss from WorldCom, and I declined on going there, and thought to myself, what am I going to do? So I got a life insurance license. I was in the life insurance business for a short period of time. I actually went to Dan, and at that point in time, and said, hey, what I need to do, I'm going to be going out on my own. What are your thoughts? What are your views? And what should you do? He said, I joined the Chamber of Commerce. And I took his advice, joined the Chamber of Commerce. I've been an ambassador with the Chamber of Commerce now for just shy of 20 years, if not 20 years. So now I'm technically an honorary ambassador, so I don't attend a lot of the meetings that are required anymore. But I do try to attend ribbon cuttings as they're available, and as many as I can. I'm actually attending one tonight at Butte County Fair, so I'm going to drive from here to Butte County to attend their ribbon cutting. And looking forward to that.
That's great.
So you're saying that the Butte County Fair is a member of the Yuba-Sutter Chamber of Commerce?
Yes, they have recently joined, and I consider Butte County and Gridley to be one of our neighbors, and they're short drive up the road, 25 minutes, and there we are. And I'm excited to go. And as you said, yes, I'm involved in the community. In addition to the Chamber of Commerce, I've spent about 3 years or so, give or take some, as in the Kiwanis group, and did that. So I've done lots of volunteer work at the Yuba-Sutter Fair through Kiwanis. Most recently, I joined Rotary. I want to get back in another service club, and I kept on getting lured back in. Kiwanis, which is still near and dear to my heart. Members such as Dan and Dave Flores have tried to recruit me. Tom Walters has tried to recruit me back, and still a lot of great people there, and it's just not really conducive to my schedule. And Yuba City Noon Club Rotary is much more conducive to my schedule because everyone needs to eat lunch like we did here today. And one of my dear friends, Darren, kept on inviting me, and also Darren Gale. And one of our old associates, Dale Eiler, was also hot on my trail to join Rotary. So I finally joined Rotary and been there, so I'm getting my feet wet with them and starting to do more stuff. And I also am pretty active in Salem. I'd be lying if I said I was out there every last Saturday of the month, but I try to make the last Saturday of the month as much as I can and participate in Salem on a regular basis.
And you're an elected.
Well, you've had a commitment to education in the last at least 4 years. I think you've been on the Yuba City Unified School District Board of Trustees for at least 4 years. Coming up on 4.
Yeah, I'm coming up on my 4th year, so I'm actually up for re-election. And yes, I am been involved in the Yuba City Unified School District. Yes.
So why? What caused you to run for school board? And I did when I was a senior at Yuba City High in 1973, just after they'd given they'd given everybody the right to vote at 18. So I was a senior at 18, and I jumped in with both feet. The fun part of that was that I was living in Terra Buena at the time, and 11 other people decided to run for the same seat I ran for. And I think after dropping out because I realized this was not going to be productive, I still got 25 votes out of 1,000 or so that were cast. But what led you to
really
join the school board?
Came down to some more community service. We're putting back and giving it back to our community, helping groom our area for what's going on in our schools. I also have a daughter that is 12 years old, and I believe in making sure she has the best education she can possibly get. And hearing what's going on, being more in tune with what's taking place within our school community and district is important to me.
How important is education to the economic development and the sustainability of what people are trying to create here in Yuba-Sutter that's positive?
I think it's huge. I'm also a firm believer in we don't want to have just push our kids to go to college. We want to have kids that go into trade schools. Some people are meant to work with their hands. Not everyone's meant to work in an office. But even working with trade schools, you still got to have the basic foundations of math, geometry, stuff of that nature. So making sure they can read and write properly, and having the opportunities to be able to learn how to weld, fabricate, and anything go along with any of the trades. Building, I believe in after the housing burst in the late 2008, a lot of our tradespeople have gone on to other positions. Well, we're starting to feel those effects because we don't have a lot of tradespeople, and we need to continue to have trades.
We are fortunate in our area because of the fact that the Plumbers Union has its training facility here in Marysville, and what used to be a warehouse for a moving and storage company.
Yes, Local 228. I know them pretty well. I've actually sold their property 5 years ago, almost to the day, in Yuba City, and they wanted to move back to Marysville because that's actually where they were founded. It was in Marysville. And so they relocated to Marysville and started off on a property that was adjacent to their warehouse and trading facility, and in an office building. And then since then, they purchased that warehouse you're speaking of. That was really just a concrete box at that point in time, and did a beautiful remodel on it. And I have not walked the facility. I missed the ribbon cutting and grand opening, but from everything I've heard, it's a very, very nice facility.
It looks really good.
And the exterior, I can definitely say, is beautiful.
So you hope to be able to deal with being a school board member for another 4 years.
Yes.
You've got some competition.
Yes, I do.
tell us a little bit about your experiences as a school board member. You were on the board you've been on the board now for what, 3 going on 4 years?
3 going on 4 years, yes, sir.
Was it oh my God?
It's been, well, obviously, yes, it's been an oh my God for the past several years. We've dealt with a lot of stuff. Obviously,
sorry to laugh.
The big one is going through a pandemic, and obviously it's one of those things we're navigating. Everyone has an opinion, and you got the far side over here that has an opinion. We have the far side over here that has their opinion, and somewhere in the middle, we got to make everything work and continue pressing forward.
Are there specific things that you've discovered being a school board member that maybe the general public doesn't realize, that you think are important for them to know about and to understand better?
Well, things don't happen overnight, and it's not as easy as you think it is. We are bound by rules and regulations and laws, and it's definitely, you're dealing with people's kids, so ultimately at the end of the day, dealing with people's kids, that's their pride and joy, and making people happy all the time just isn't possible.
Our Constitution talks about the pursuit of happiness. It doesn't guarantee it.
That's right. Everybody's in pursuit.
But we're here, we can jump in and continue to try. That's, I guess, the opportunity is there.
Absolutely.
So as a school board member, what do you think is the biggest challenge in Yuba City Unified going on today and that may go on for the next year or so?
We need to continue to attract good talent to our district office. Also, can attract good talent for our teachers. That's one of the positive things about our area is that we still are an affordable community. Going back to the real estate stuff, so our teachers are able to buy homes here. At this point in time, they're not in the same situation as people that live in the Bay Area, where they're having to commute an hour plus outside the area to buy a home, and or rent, because their wages don't support the amount of money to purchase a home and or rent a home in that area, where our area is still affordable to do so.
So affordability of homes is a challenge for the district, or that's a component of retaining good talent?
I believe for our area it's a plus, because we are still, for going back to the real estate stuff, we are still a community that's affordable compared to places such as the Bay Area. But we also, as far as bringing people into our area, we're still looking for bringing good teachers in our area that want to stay. It's just the whole structure of continuing to have good people on in the district level, and as well as out in the teaching force.
So what do you do as far as affordability for people who live here and may want to change homes, or maybe they need to expand the number of bedrooms or something like that? What can be done within the community to deal with home prices that would be affordable for people who already live here?
What can you do? Well, if you already have a current home, you're going to put it on the market to sell it, and you're going to trade up. As far as more affordability, you got to continue building more homes, because there's not a huge supply of homes right now at this point in time. We are building here more so in Yuba County than we are in Sutter County, but obviously supply and demand is a big deal on pricing as well. And right now, people are still in shock over the rates at this point in time. However, historically, our rates are still phenomenal. We're not being spoiled with the 3.5% interest rates, but at the 5.5%, let's talk about people that were buying homes back in the 80s at 20%. It's not even a close. So it's still a great time to buy.
So Dan, we're talking about affordability of a place to live.
Yeah.
You've been talking about a number of different types of, or bringing more residences. Maybe you can go into that a little bit more. Is $1,500 a month for an apartment in town reasonable? Can people afford that?
I think the $1,500 that I was mentioning is targeting people in the workforce already, right? So you have people who are employed, doing well. You have people who are doing mediocre, and then you have people who are underemployed, right? And then you have people who are unemployed, right? So then we have to have a housing mix for for everyone, because that's the objective that we try to reach. But our goal right now is to try to attract people within the workforce housing range, like market rate housing. And the reason for that is because we want to bring some people that have the funds to come in and be able to support the services that we also want to bring as well. Now, as I mentioned that, we have under construction right now an affordable housing project off of Ramirez with 72 units of affordable housing. And affordable housing doesn't mean that that's for homeless housing. It means that is for people who are underemployed and working to try to better themselves, and this is a good point or place for them to be able to live where they can establish themselves within the workforce and build a better life for themselves. And then the goal for them is eventually move out of affordable housing into something that, I don't like to call it unaffordable housing, but a market rate housing. So that's what we try to, that's the objective with affordable.
Keep talking about that project, because I've been over there several times taking video, and I'm trying to load some that we can pull up here.
Okay, sure, yeah.
How did that come to pass? And this was a little bit before your time.
It was, yeah. There's a mandate by the state, and you may be more familiar than even I am, because I won't remember the acronym or the code or whatever the number is, but basically that each jurisdiction has to have a certain number of affordable housing units in order to participate in multiple state programs. City of Marysville allowed this one particular project to come in where it will be 72 affordable housing units, and they approved it. I think it was approved almost 2 years ago.
That's my guess as well. Yes.
Yeah, so then it's been under construction ever since. I've been through the apartments, and they're looking pretty good. I go with the inspector and check out, see how the construction is progressing. It's actually a very nice looking, apartment complex or facility altogether. So
this is going to take a while to load up, so we're not going to be able to do that. But let me see if I can pull up some still pictures. Go ahead.
This will give
the other note on that too is the group, I believe, is the same group that are developed out of Idaho, or they're based out of Idaho.
Yeah.
They developed the Gridley property.
Right.
They don't sell off the properties; they actually hold and manage the properties.
They manage them as well.
Their properties, I've been on site with some of those existing facilities, and they actually keep them up very clean. So
they maintain them really
yes.
well. I'm amazed at how quickly they build them. It's incredible, but they're moving along very nicely. They work closely with the city. They know what they're doing. We deal with a lot of different builders, developers, contractors, do-it-yourselfers. They come into the city, and several people don't exactly know all of the rules, the codes, how to get the permits, that kind of thing. And this particular group, they're very good at what they do. But it's going to be nice to have that affordable. There will be that affordable housing balance, which the city council believes now that we have reached the objective required by the state for affordable housing. Actually, we've surpassed it. That will stay at that level for affordable housing development and try to continue to attract market rate housing for people who are in the workforce and need places to live.
You mentioned infill development, and that for Marysville at the moment is about the only way that you're going to be able to build any new commercial or residential kind of development.
Correct.
So it seems more like a apartments or multifamily housing is where that would go. Is there anything happening specifically downtown that you can talk about on any properties that people may go, oh, that's interesting?
There's been there's been interest in the development of a potential apartment complex on 3rd and D Street. It still hasn't come to planning yet, but it's something that will probably come to planning here within the next couple of months, and it's something that I could really talk further about then. But it would be the proposals for a 36-unit apartment complex on 3rd and D, which is sort of if the brick, sort of next to the brick in the museum there on the corner, right across. Yeah, right across next to Jim Boy's. Yeah.
That's the vacant lot that currently has some trees on it. It's a city park, and it's opposite the privately owned property that has the Christmas tree that's used as
That's right, yeah. Opposite that privately owned one's called Beach Park, and it has the Christmas tree on it, and this one is the one without the Christmas tree. So, yeah, that
next to where the Chislers Inn.
That's what I'm told, and I don't remember that, but yes, so I've been told over and over, that's the Chislers Inn. I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. That's the location.
Well, okay, so there's several parcels there. I think 3, actually. There's the Chislers Inn property on the alley, and then there's the city-owned property on the corner, and then one in between. So is the plan to bring all of those pieces together and then build? Or
Yeah, so the proposal from the developer is to put them together and then to build out an apartment complex on it.
Oops, that's not Dan Flores. That's you know, you do this all yourself. It gets to be kind of fun sometimes.
And then there's
Why you see me looking down oftentimes.
Then there's multiple other development projects. You know, I think you've mentioned this in the past as well, but the city RDA properties that the city was holding on to.
Yeah, redevelopment
agency properties. They passed a resolution and went through the HCD reporting process to basically sell the properties. Most of the properties have been sold. You know, there's only a couple of properties left to work on, but the ones that have been sold will have development agreements coming before the city council within the next few months. So probably by the end of the year, I'll be able to come back on with you and announce some really great infill developments that are on, you know, right now underway and planning. My thing has been really, I don't like to pre-announce things until they actually come to fruition, because then I find people say, well, he's an over-optimistic, and I'd rather not be over-optimistic. I'd rather be cautiously optimistic than over-optimistic, and then have you come back and tell me, well, that was an idea that didn't go anywhere. Great job. So, you know, I'd rather just announce as we know.
Paige Adams just texted, "Hi there, Paige, and thank you for watching."
Hi, Paige.
She says, "So glad to hear the updated Marysville general plan is coming soon."
Yes.
And Margie Rollins has been watching, so thank you for watching. Share this with other people, because there are people who want to know what's going on in town. That's the purpose of this show. It is called Lunch with Langdell, and we are here in the wonderful and talented Oya restaurant, which is located at the corner of 9th and B Streets in Marysville. This is, no, let's go there. That's what we wanted to do.
We'll add
so the Oya restaurant,
sorry,
like I say, doing everything yourself becomes an interesting adventure. And I'm Ted Langdell, and our guests today have been, let's get the right buttons pushed here, Dan Flores, who's the Marysville's Community Development Director, and his longtime friend for the area. Let's get Greg Quilty's title up here. There's Greg Quilty. And Greg is both a real estate agent, a medium-term resident of the area from the 90s, Yuba City High School graduate, go Honkers, and also participating in community as a school board member and as a real estate person.
Say love and Rotary as well.
Say love and a variety of
and a dad too, right?
And a father, yes.
Oh yeah,
there's always that
part. That's important.
Yeah.
Is there anything that we've left out that you think is important for people to know while we have an opportunity to transmit that information?
So I can go first on this from the city of Marysville. You know, we really encourage. You just mentioned 2 reviewers, and it's, you know, I know that they're very active, and I'd encourage all the citizens of Marysville to get involved on what's going on through the planning process, to come to City Hall to learn more, to contact me directly as a community development director to find out what's happening. And then I would really encourage developers or anybody interested in construction or building or real estate within Marysville to contact us as well. And I'm going to share one of the best kept secrets on your show. So you're hearing it live here with Langdell.
Okay.
This is really important to developers, real estate brokers, people who invest. And it's something that is a secret that I didn't know about till I came to Marysville.
Should I do the Johnny Carson routine and put the
it.
envelope to my head?
You could do that, but I'll tell you, it's a really big deal, especially right now since we're headed into a recession countrywide. You know, or somewhat of a recession, or things have slowed down. So you never want to be with the rest of the herd, right? You don't want to go where people are going. So they're building and they still have these things going on. Well, for us, City of Marysville does not have impact fees. Okay, so that is a huge secret. And for those developers, builders, anyone else out there who's listening, The city of Marysville.
Say that again.
City of Marysville does not have impact fees. There are some fees like school fees.
What is the benefit of that? What does that mean?
The benefit is in the construction overall. So if you take some neighboring cities, like an average might be $30,000 to $50,000 of impact fees to build a we call it a door, but let's say apartment complex or a fourplex. Let's say you wanted to build a fourplex, right? Let's say the fees were $30,000 a door. Well, before you can build the doors, that's $120,000 that you have to pay to the community to allow you basically to build the doors for their what they call impact fees. In the city of Marysville, they don't have those fees. They still have school fees, but you won't be paying the $120,000 plus, whatever those fees are for those other communities. So what does that allow? It allows developers, builders, investors to come in and actually make a profit from this opportunity of development. And it is really a super secret because I didn't know about it, and it's something that I know that most people don't know about for the city of Marysville. Something really to keep in mind for developers.
So have you found that there's been a reaction when you told this to people who might have an interest in building here?
Yeah, so I really haven't told that many people yet. So like I said, this is a big deal for you to put that out there, but I have told certain people, some developers, and there is a big reaction. There's a very, very positive reaction. And then it gets to, well, what can I buy to make this happen? Where can I buy it to develop? And that's where people like Greg, real estate agents and brokers come in, and they talk to their connections and they connect the dots with different people and figure out what's available, and then put those developers or builders or investors together to buy certain properties to build out. But there's definitely some excitement within the development community in Marysville and the development community outside of Marysville. And that's how we were able to drum up so much interest, if you think about it, for the B Street properties, for instance. They've been sitting there for 20 years, but you have to get the word out to show them what's available to them. And so that's where we're at right now. And the last thing I want to add is that Marysville, I mentioned this earlier, but it's about momentum now. It's about creating a momentum, putting out forward motion, making things go forward. We're looking forward. We're not looking backwards. The people who are looking backwards, you can stay looking backwards, but the rest of us, we're going forward. We hope you join us, and you will see some great things happen in Marysville. And I will tell you, there's great things happening in the whole Yuba-Sutter community, but Marysville is the gem in the United States, and it will be a wonderful place to live, work, play, just have a business. So, I encourage anyone who have any questions about Marysville, anything they want to talk about, contact me directly, and I'd love to talk to them. And I'm sure Greg's got some great comments. Wrap it up.
I definitely like Dan's comment about move forward in Marysville and keeping the momentum moving forward. It's things that progressiveness is good. We need some forward movement, and I like what he has to say. And I think the residents of Marysville should do that. And I also believe that both Yuba-Sutter residents should come out and participate with us in Say Love. Like I said, last Saturday every month, Say Love gets together 7:30 in the morning. It's the church on George Washington, and we meet for coffee and donuts. And the way I see it is generally there's about 100 people out there. Well, that's just a small percentage of our total community. If we could bring out the force and the 1,000, some of the blight that we have in our local area, whether it be from trash being dumped off, whether it be from spray painting, graffiti, any of that type of stuff, let's take some pride in our community and let's help get it cleaned up.
So, and last thing, I have to put in a plug here, but the Brews, Blues, and Barbecue from the Early Risers Kiwanis.
Hey, absolutely.
Okay, so that's happening this weekend, Saturday from
4 to 8.
4 o'clock to 8 p.m. At the Yuba-Sutter Fairgrounds. I'm going to be down there. I don't know if Greg is. I hope.
Got my tickets.
Greg's going to be down there. So come and join us, and we're going to try brews from lots of different breweries. We got raffle prizes that are there. Lots of food, great food. So we just hope all of you can come down and join us. And the cause is great. All the funds go to scholarships. We're talking about education. They go to the kids to help them go to college. And that's what we want them to do. Whether it's trade school or college, we support them through these different scholarships, and we'd love everybody to come out and join us. And thank you, Ted, for the interview today. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Ted.
And for lunch, since I forgot my wallet.
Yeah, that's okay. Not a problem. We'll figure something out here after we get off the air and get to see what the bill is like.
I just thought I'd put that on the record for you.
That's fine. That's fine.
But thank you.
You have been watching Lunch with Langdell, which is our subject today has been Marysville's Renaissance. Let me turn up my microphone here. That might help a little bit. We've been trying to keep the background noise at a din here. And Marysville's Renaissance is underway, and one of the places that it is underway is right here at Ellis Lake, which is Oya Restaurant on the corner of 9th and B. We're sitting on what used to be the swimming pool.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And I'm hoping that sometime in the near future, you as the Community Development Director, Dan, are going to be able to get a swimming pool open in Marysville here for everybody who doesn't have one in their backyard.
That's great.
I remember biking in from Linda when we moved in here from 1965, and from 65 to 70 we would ride in and go swimming and then wander back through downtown Marysville, maybe stop at Woolworth's and have a milkshake or something. And
yeah.
I used to stop in at the truck dealership and collect Peterbilt truck pamphlets and brochures. I mean, what I needed with a Dana Spicer rear end piece of literature, I don't know, but I connected this sort of stuff, or collected it rather.
That's funny. Well, since you mentioned swimming pool, I just want to tell you that we are in discussions with Marysville High School for the usage of their pool as a public pool. So this isn't anything final. It's just something in discussion. So I don't want people to say, Dan said this is happening. But
maybe it'll happen before the heat goes away.
It'll happen. I think the person to call there is Dr. Usrani, and just let her know that it's a great idea, because we'd love to have a public pool, and they have a beautiful pool at Marysville High School that could be used by the whole community. And we'd love to enter into a good working relationship with them for the residents of Marysville to be able to use the pool.
And
the surrounding
Marysville just resurrected a recreation department, as I recall correctly.
Yeah, so we're working on, we call the Parks and Rec Department, and we're working closely with the Yuba County Office of Education, and I'll have a lot more details on that within about a month or so. Happy to share what's happening there.
Well, we may do a special program.
You got it.
Maybe we'll
That's
just call
topic.
a show Marysville's Renaissance, find a few local sponsors, and we'll have them.
Sure, why not? Yeah.
Have us talk about Marysville. Maybe the city will do that.
There's plenty of items to talk about, so that'd be great.
All right, great. Well, we've been yakking here for an hour and 15 minutes, and we appreciate your being here, and I know you've got things that you need to do, and I do as well. So we appreciate the fact that our viewers have hung in here. Please like and share, and also, make sure that your friends and relatives that live in the area or maybe moved out of the area and always want to know what's happening here, pay attention to Lunch with Langdell and our government meetings that we live stream on Tuesdays. I'm trying to think who we've got. Yuba Water Agency, and then coming up on Tuesday. And
I'm not sure.
You don't have Board of Supervisors on Tuesday, do you?
Board of Supervisors was this week. So
this past week.
Right,
okay, so it's Yuba
council.
Water Agency, and then we will get to see Greg Quilty at 7 o'clock at night on the Yuba City Unified School District Board of Trustees.
Yeah.
And at 5:30 in a separate stream, it's the Marysville Unified School District Board of Trustees. So we have all kinds of stuff going on. Sometimes my Tuesdays are pretty crazy, beginning at about 7 o'clock in the morning to get everything prepped for the day. But we appreciate the fact that you guys have been with us.
Thank you.
And have had a lot to share, and I think that the community will get a lot out of that information, particularly coming from the horse's mouth in the livery stable here. So.
Hey, well, if anyone wants to contact me, please do. I know Greg feels the same way, so we're always available to be contacted. Some people call each other at close to midnight, but whenever we need to talk, we're there for you. And I just want to add 2 thumbs up to Marysville. That's our new thing. So 2 thumbs up to Marysville.
2 thumbs up for Marysville.
And really appreciate your interviewing us, Ted.
Yes, thanks,
Great.
Ted.
Well, you are watching Lunch with Langdell, and that is a show that happens usually every Thursday. We're going to try to continue that. And if you know somebody that might be interested in sponsoring the show, help us pay for the lunch tab here. We're happy to have that and happy to do more things. So thank you, Dan, and thank you, Greg, for showing up this afternoon and for sharing information with us that I think helps the community better understand itself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Skip's Marysville Music Cafe, with lessons in person and personalized. Instruments including guitars and amps, horns, strings for instruments, and a myriad of music and sound equipment. Skip's Marysville Music Cafe.